Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Toastmasters for Professionals. We are about to embark on a wonderful journey together tonight, and I'd like to welcome the guests that we have. Guest Malind, second time visit to us. Thank you for joining us. We have Ritu. Would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ritu Parna Ghosh. You can call me Ritu. So this is my first time today. I'm into any kind of Toastmasters session, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, you're in for a treat because I am going to demystify the Toastmasters meetings and tell us why all of these meeting roles are so very important to us in our professional lives as well as in the Toastmasters meeting. Are there any other guests? Toastmaster Pragati? Would you like to introduce yourself? How about Toastmaster Rajat Gupta?
Hello, ma'am. Sorry, actually, good morning. My name is Pragati Veer. I'm from India, and I'm working as a software engineer. And I want to improve my communication and confident about my public speaking. So that's why I'm the joining club with professional. And I lastly I joined the meeting also, but some my mismatch my timing with my job. So that's why. But I really like to enjoy this the meeting. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. And Rajat Gupta?
Yeah. No, I'm Pragati.
No, I have another person, Rajat Gupta. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, very good morning good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. This is Rajat Gupta, and today I'm joining first time as a member to this club. I joined as a guest last meeting as well. So I'm also part of another club of Toastmasters based on India. But I decided to be part of this club as well because last time I attended the meeting, I found that people from or different part of the words coming together join a meeting, so it's a good experience to listen everyone and listen their perspective. So because I am planning to apply for a B school in US, so it is a good club for me to practice my communication skills from diverse background. That's why
Excellent. Then welcome as a new member. We gained 4 new members after our last meeting, just to show you how wonderfully received everybody was during the last meeting. So today I am going to demystify for you all of the meeting roles. Doreen, yes, I'm sorry. Your hand is up.
I was trying to clap. I apologize. Did it not?
Okay, applauding is one thing, raising hand is another.
No, I didn't hit raise the hand. I thought I hit applaud. Because raise
okay,
hand, raise
fine.
hand.
It's doing the same thing. So why don't you introduce yourself? You are a second-time guest as well.
Hi, my name is Doreen Galley, and I'm out of Henderson, Nevada. I started auditing Toastmasters last fall, but joined Microsoft SpeechMakers in January. And this is my second time as a guest, first time with technology, kind of working in the beginning. I apologize. I am much more accustomed to Teams. I've been serving as the platform architect for Azure and CTO and Microsoft Cloud for Industries and global expansion for technologies. However, right now I am actually figuring out what I'm going to do next.
Okay, well, welcome.
Did you want me to introduce my role at the same time?
We'll get to that in a little bit. How's that?
Okay, sounds good.
So my job today is the Toastmaster of the day. And in this club, the Toastmaster of the day typically picks the theme. And with so many new members, we as a team thought that perhaps it would be worthwhile to explain the various meeting roles to all of our members and guests, but also offer you the reasons why these roles are so important and beneficial to you as professionals. As Toastmaster of the day, I will be your welcoming host. I am setting the tone for the meeting, hopefully upbeat, enthusiastic, and welcoming. In business, if you are called upon to hold a meeting, the first rule they tell you, create an agenda. The reason you create an agenda is so that the participants will know what is expected of them. Will I need to pay attention? Do I have a role where I need to be prepared for, as several of the meeting members have done today? But it's even more than that. As the Toastmaster of the day, I am performing a duty such as an MC. And one of the requirements is to introduce the various role players throughout the meeting. Cardinal rule in business, try to pronounce the name correctly. Now, as we have members across the borders around the globe, we need to try to listen, hear, comprehend, and remember how to pronounce those names. So if by any chance I mispronounce a name, please accept my humblest of apologies. I will try harder the next time. It is my job. As Toastmaster of the day in this club, the theme will flow throughout the first portion of the meeting, which is known as the educational portion of the meeting. Then I turn control of the meeting over to the table topics master, who will do the hosting of the impromptu speaking. And we'll get to that a little bit further on, explaining that role and why that is so important in business for professionals as well. And then the third part of our meeting is the evaluation and feedback portion. That's when we really have to do our listening, and all of those roles really help enforce the effective listening that we must do throughout the meeting. Now, as Toastmaster, it is my obligation to make sure that we are on time, we stay according to plan, and that everyone is recognized in due time. So just like in business, you have to look at the big picture. It's not just my role and only me, and I speak, never mind paying attention. As everyone who has been a Toastmaster for a while may recognize that this is one role where you really need to be paying close attention to everyone in the room, even if it's a virtual room. Wouldn't you agree, Mary? We need to be paying attention to everything that's going on, and that is key. If you're hyper aware of what's going on, you will be able to read your audience. Now, wouldn't you agree that in a professional setting, that is important as well? You're able to see, are they paying attention? Are they drifting? If everyone has their camera off, I feel that they're not paying attention. They might be on their phones, or they might just have stepped out. So if you're on screen and can keep your camera on, I would appreciate that, because then I can see your eyes and your smiles. And then I know that I'm in a friendly audience. And then I know that if I'm losing you, I know how to wrap you back into paying attention. Welcome, Raju. We appreciate you being back on board. We are in for a treat today as we go through the various roles, and we'll explain them as we go. First up, we'll be our grammarian. Our grammarian today is going to be Raghu Ramkara, and he is at first going to give us a word of the day, and then he will be paying attention to the proper usage of grammar and perhaps some special words or phrases that are memorable and impactful, good word choices. So please help me welcome our grammarian for today with our word of the day, Raghu Ramkara.
Thank you, Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster Susan. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. As a grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all the speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I'll take note of any misuses of the English language as well as any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. As a grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word of the day. The word of the day for today is convoluted, 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 which means extremely complex and difficult to follow. Example, walnuts come in hard and convoluted shells. I can share my screen and show the same thing as well, but it is disabled for now. I can keep it like a display if that is okay, Susan, or if this is okay, I'll just leave it as is.
I can provide you co-host rights so that you can do it. You have co-host permission. Nope. Hold on. Wait a second. Next up, make a co-host. Okay, you now may share.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay, please let me know once you see my screen. Okay, that's good. So convoluted, meaning extremely complex and difficult to follow. An example, walnuts come in hard and convoluted shells. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. You can only imagine how convoluted a Toastmasters meeting might seem to someone who has walked in the room for the first time and has no idea what all these roles are about or what the agenda is about. Raghu, if you could just please stop sharing,
Sure.
we can return. So you can imagine, do you remember the first time you came into a Toastmasters room? Who is that person? What are they doing? What's coming next? Even with an agenda, you may not have understood all of the various roles and rules that were coming. So we're going to attempt to do that for you today. The grammarian's purpose is to have effective listening, which is very important because words matter. The word choices we use, whether we have exceptional vocabulary or our words are misunderstood. It is important in the business world and as professionals to make sure that our audience does understand us. We tell ourselves in Toastmasters, that's know your audience. So if Dr. Stephen or Dr. Mary were in a room of doctors, they could use a different language terminology than we in Toastmasters might use. Although we may pick up a few words, we might be lost. So in Toastmasters, it's really important to remember we have our own language and we need to convey that to others so that they can pick up on the nuances of our meeting and understand what's going on. Without further ado, I'm going to pass along to our first and only speaker for today. This is Dr. Stephen Bui. He has just finished the Speechcraft program this spring and decided to join our club. He will be speaking from the motivational strategies path. He is working a level 3, so he's been in Toastmasters before this go around. He is, innovative planning is the path. The project is motivating others. And his speech will be 5 to 7 minutes for our timer. Are you good for the green at 5, the yellow at 6, and the red at 7 as indicators to the speaker?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So please help me welcome Dr. Stephen Bui with volunteering. The give is gain. You need to unmute.
Give and you shall receive. We all have heard this phrase before many times, but raise your hand if you actually believe it. Any of us here believe that? Great. We got many believers. Wonderful. Good day, Toastmaster. Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day, Susan, distinguished Toastmasters, and honored guests. Think about the last time you had helped someone. How did it make you feel? Well, I'll tell you what, the benefit is beyond how good you feel after you had helped the person. If I look around the room here, I recognize many faces that have personally impacted my life. Susan, Dr. Mary, Raghu, and they all have volunteered their time to help others. And when you speak to them, I'm sure they can share with you the benefits of volunteering and helping others. Not only it helped you on the mental aspect, many clinical study has shown that it also helped you in the improve physical well-being, the social well-being, connecting with others, and also learning new skills. For example, teamwork allow you to work with others. So if you think about it, there are so many different benefits that we could receive from helping others by volunteering. Now, this talk, I will share my experience on how volunteering had affected my life. At first, volunteering is something that I wanted to do because I had some free time. I hoped that would make an impact. I don't know how much of an impact it would make. I did not expect to see any benefits that I would receive. However, as I dig into it, spend some time working with other people, then I realized such a powerful, beneficial effects on the people around me and ultimately for myself. I'll give you an example. This is most profound benefit that I've seen. One of my surgical missions, I had an opportunity to operate on an 11-year-old girl, very unique. She has 12 fingers, 14 toes, and she has such a difficulty connecting with others. She's even afraid to wave her hand to her friends. She is afraid to walk outside because she can't wear shoes. With 14 toes, it doesn't fit into our regular traditional shoes. After the surgery, I was able to operate on her and remove the accessory digits. And the look on her face when she woke up and looked into her hands and feet, and she saw she has normal 10 finger and 10 toes. Now imagine you and I, we all have 10 fingers and 10 toes, I assume. But do we really appreciate what we have? For her, it's a life-changing experience. But just the appreciation that I see, the glimmer of hope, the excitement that she has, and really it will build her confidence beyond what she was afraid. Now, of course, as we know, when we have 10 fingers and 10 toes, that's not something that we even think about. But for people that have deformities, they are very self-conscious. It would take, Dr. Mary would probably know and can share that, it would take a lot of work to overcome these self-consciousness. However, this is a big impact that I can see. But for you, for any one of us, we don't have to do something big or do something that seemed to be convoluted to make a difference. I'll give you an example of this past Friday, Good Friday. I volunteer at the local church to serve hot meals to the needy community. And it was just a simple act, but I learned a lot of new skills. I learned the skill of how to serve like multiple people in a big arena. I learned how to work with people, and they assign me different tasks. So I'm picking up different tasks, and I'm learning how to mesh well with other people. But the impact I saw was very significant as well, no less than what I did with my professional skills. I see the faces of people lit up when they are enjoying their meal and engage in conversation with me. And I realized that just a simple act of kindness that we spend time with others will have an impact on us and them as well. This is where I see, and I want to share with you what's in it for me, right? I did not expect all of this, but what I had received, I received the contentment, the self-confidence, learning new skills, able to work effectively as a team member, boosting my mood, and having personal growth. So I encourage all of us here to consider volunteering for others. And it's the giver's gain that you are receiving much more than we give. Now, for me, I always think, or even people look at me and say, wow, this is great. You're doing such a great deed and, must feel good. And I said, no, actually, I feel like fortunate I'm able to help other people, but I receive so much more. This is why I'm keep coming back and keep doing it more and more. And think of the small ripple effect that you can have by volunteering, by a simple act of, volunteering at a church or local community, or helping a friend that is sick, connecting with them. You have the power to make an impact in other people's lives. And it starts with a small step. I recommend you to try to do something, maybe volunteer 1 hour a month to see how it helped you and how it impacts you beyond the people you help. So we want to step up and make a difference to the lives around us and make a difference in our lives. Volunteering is a giver's gain. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Stephen. We very much appreciate that. And by the way, Toastmasters is a volunteer organization. So for everyone who takes on a role in a meeting and everyone who takes on an officer role to help steer the direction of the club, it's volunteering. And there's something really good to the heart about volunteering. Now, I was remiss in not mentioning that Dr. Stephen will be evaluated a little later on by Pramod. I wanted to make sure, I see he knows he's ready, but I would have been remiss. I should have said that beforehand. I misstepped. Pramod will be giving some feedback on what Dr. Stephen did well and perhaps some advice for some improvement. And that's very similar to a role we do in business when we are a manager and we have to give feedback, or a team lead. You need to give feedback to someone. You need to say it with empathy, understanding how they're going to receive it, because overall you're trying to motivate them, not demotivate. So it needs to be said in a positive way, which is how we handle ourselves here in Toastmasters. The next portion of our meeting is where we exercise impromptu speaking. That's on the spot, ask a question, and give a response in 1 to 2 minutes. Now our timer will be keeping track of that at 1, 1.5, and 2, so that we don't run over, so that we can make sure that we stay within the confines of our meeting agenda. And that's what we'll try to keep track of and see how many of the volunteers we can have participate. Members first, and then we go to guests if you'd like to participate. And welcome, Dee Marie. Thank you for joining us. The impromptu portion, benefit for professionals. An interview, right? when you are being interviewed, you need to get your point across succinctly, concisely, and not too long and rambly. You want to make an impact, and that's how we learn this. Also, just walking down the hallway and a manager walks by or a team lead says, "So how are you doing on that project?" And your answer should be not, I don't know, the counter is having a field day, but you should feel confident with your response and say, "Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to say," and say it in a succinct, organized manner, just like a regular speech. A beginning, an opening, a body, and a close. Make your point, get it across, you win. That's what impromptu speaking skills can do for you in the workplace as a professional. Be able to think quickly and get that message out in an organized way. I am now going to turn control of this meeting to our table topics master for today, who is Ekta. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Ekta. The show is yours. Ekta, are you there? We have Ekta not responding. Audible
Are they unmute?
or visual? No, there's no visual either.
No
Ekta,
prob. Okay,
1
she'll
minute,
come.
she said. Oh, she's coming in 1 minute. So the key is also to be flexible, and that's what we learn in Toastmasters, right? Something didn't go according to plan? That's okay. Take that half a minute and fill it and make the best use of it rather than dead time. Quiet air makes everybody uncomfortable, doesn't it? So please help me welcome our Toastmaster, topic master of the day, Ekta.
Hi, Susan. Sorry, I was not having Zoom issues and was not able to speak earlier. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to host the Toastmaster session today. Would like to request for any volunteer who would want to go first. Do we have any volunteers?
I'm always brave.
Hi, Doreen. Sure. So my first question to you would be, what's the weirdest food combination you have ever made or tried? What's
The weirdest food combination I have ever made or tried.
Yes.
The first thing that comes to my mind is salted caramel. Because when you think of caramel, you think of something sweet and chewy and stringy, right? And when you think of salt, it's completely opposite end. And it like, I don't tend to salt my desserts, right? I have never, had a bowl of Jell-O and said, I'd like to add some salt to this. This is going to be great. Or, wow, chocolate ice cream. Yeah, let me salt that, right? Or a bowl of frozen fruit. I mean, cantaloupe, admittedly, you do salt to sweeten it, but that's not the case. It's not like there's a chemical reaction that's going to make it sweeter. But yet, well, maybe it is. I don't know, right? I'm not a chemist. But all I know is that when you salt caramel, you wouldn't expect them to go together, but I have found that they go very well together. I cannot tell where I am on the time.
The green has just come up.
Okay, I apologize, but is there any way we can pin the timer? Or can you only pin one in Zoom?
Each speaker can pin the timer, or I can spotlight.
Okay, if you could spotlight, that might help, because I couldn't see the timer. I know Stephen had the same issue too when he was doing his. And so no one is going to be on time if we don't know what the time is. So just a question, suggestion along the way.
He is now spotlighted. Whoever speaks next will also be spotlighted.
Very good. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Doreen. Any one who wants to go second? Any guests who would want to take this opportunity to try a table topic today?
Mill is there. I think I can see a hand.
Okay, sure. The question to you, Milind, is what animal would you be given a choice and why?
Sometimes I feel in Toastmasters, we are also good mind readers, Ekta. You know why? Because as I was telling earlier, I am right now in San Francisco with our elder daughter, who just delivered a baby son. But the daughter already has a dog. And my job over the last 15 days, while my wife is looking after the well-being of my daughter and the grandson, is to look after the dog. So my day starts with getting him out of the cage, and then in the morning going out into the patio and playing with a toy with him, and then coming back and then preparing a little food tray for him. And then in the afternoon, I take him for a walk. And as I am doing all this, I am really experiencing the joy of taking care of a dog. How wonderful is their life? There are no cons, there are no anxieties. Okay, there are some small anxieties, like suddenly if there is a cat he sees there, he starts barking. So there are some minor anxieties, but otherwise life is so peaceful, so contentful. You have your food, you go out for a walk, you bark once in a while, you sleep for a long time, and so on and so forth. So given the choice, I would certainly like to be a dog, and not an underdog for that matter, be a proper dog. So this is my brief, take on your question that, if I were an animal, I would definitely like to be a dog and, be happy, be contentful, not be worried of whether, I have to give a speech next week and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for this question, Ekta, and I am returning the control back to you.
Thank you so much, Milind. It was a great insight on pet parenting. So I had seen next hand, I had seen D. Mary also raise her hands. So my next question to you would be, what's your best my co-workers are crazy story?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that, please?
What is your best my co-workers are crazy story?
This question is so appropriate. I spent 25 years working as a psychiatric nurse in a mental facility. So the stories that I could tell you about my coworkers doing things that were crazy would have your hair standing on end. My goodness, there were times when I had to try and decide, is this the patient acting up or is this a staff person? Because I think that once the staff people stay around the patients for so long, they began to mimic the behavior of the patients. So I had a hard time trying to decide, is this a patient or a staff person? I can't point to any one particular thing. I can tell you that on any given day, there were always situations where we would have to stop and take a deep breath and just let ourselves calm down and not get caught up in the moment. Because when you are working as a caretaker for psychiatric patients, patients who have psychiatric issues or who have some debilitation in terms of their mental acuity, that is challenging on a level that I cannot tell you. So to stop and take a deep breath was a very necessary part of what we did on a day-to-day basis. But by stopping and just taking that deep breath and coming back to center, to focus, that was always a good way to pull everybody, the staff and the patients, into some recognizable order. Things never got really completely out of hand because we understood that the environment had to be therapeutic for the patients. So we maintained our composure as well. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you, T. Mary. The next, I see Rajat Gupta. This question is for you. What's your best my family is crazy story? Rajat?
Yes, thank you very much for the topic, Ekta. My topic, my family crazy stories. So, if I have to think about the crazy thing about my family, actually, we are kind of night owls, and we usually sleep late at the night. So, whenever our dinner time is actually almost every time. Past 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. and when we start discussing among us about any topics, we start laughing crazily, and everyone else in our locality has slept. So we whenever we discuss about this moment that when everybody is sleeping, we are laughing. So it's a kind of crazy moment because we always say that when time clicks past 12 a.m. in the night, we our usual routine is that we usually laugh at that moment. So we thought it's the one of the kind of thing that in our family, and we call it crazy because it's a thing that when everyone is silent or the more circumstances around you silent, the our laugh gets echoed more and it sounds crazy. So that is the one crazy thing I would like to mention about our crazy family thing. Back to you, Ekta.
Thank you so much, Rajat. Thanks for sharing. And we all love to have a laugh with our family. The next hand that I see was Pragati. So this question would be for you. What recent trends are you totally on board with?
Sorry.
What recent trends are you totally on board with?
What recent trend are you totally on board with? Actually, I don't understand the meaning. What this topic?
Okay, so for example, I'm not sure if you've heard of ChatGPT or any new technology or any fashion trend or anything that you would want to talk about that is recent and you think you would want to share with the team.
Taylor Swift's
Yes.
tour.
I'm sorry. Okay. So hello. This is really okay. This is really a good topic to discuss. The trend related you say the chat GPT, and I'm a software developer, and my logic when you're creating the software, you sometimes you just mismatch about the logic, and you not, but the chat GPT is really good tool to develop your code, and that's too much. It's really easy to return the code because you know everyone is sorry. Okay, that's
So thank you, Pragati. Good try. If you're good on time, Dr. Susan, can I still go ahead with two more
We'll
topics?
do two more. We have two more that have raised their hands, Ritu
Sure.
and Vinay, and that'll close it.
Okay, Ritu, this question is for you.
Thank you.
If you could be any person from history to be your imaginary friend, who would it be?
From history. Yeah, thank you, Ekta. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity to speak here. So this is my first time. I'll try my best. I'm really learning a lot from all of you. So if I have to choose a person from history, I would be maybe like Mahatma Gandhi, and just because of his selfless nature and his kind work for human being. I like to be someone who can like help and be help and everyone and be in a like be a peace follower and non-violence and all those, like the given the current scenario in the world where there is lots of violent action going on, war and crime. So all those I'll be someone who can do like be someone who is not non-violent and peaceful in nature. And that's all from myself.
Thank you, Ritu. Who would not want to be the father of the nation in India? So thanks for your take on that. So the next question would be for Vinay. What is the one app that you feel has changed your world?
What is the one application you said?
Yes. App. Yes.
App. Okay. Thank you, first of all, for giving me this opportunity. I belong to a technology field, so I have seen many apps throughout my life, which has changed the way the humanity has been living throughout for last couple of decades. We have seen, in terms of the apps, we have seen it started with the social networking when the revolution started in 2004, 2005. It started with Orkut, and Orkut was first kind of application where it gave us the opportunity to interact with some unknown people, your friends who are totally unknown, you are detached. That is the one thing I started somewhere in 2004, 2005, Orkut. And eventually Facebook came, it replaced Orkut, and it changed the way we used to interact with the people. And it came up with its own version, with a more sophisticated version. And it eased the way we used to interact. That helped me a lot to find my friends who are totally unknown, which are known to me, but because of this lack of this touch, the human touch, this virtual touch, right, it enabled us to rediscover my old friends. And then now we have more sophisticated version. Is now WhatsApp. And after WhatsApp, now the ChatGPT is coming, which is putting a lot of human intelligence and emotions to that. So there are many apps, in fact, in my life that have changed the way I used to interact with my friends and all. And one more app, there are a lot of apps. One is the trading app. So I normally used to have like website and all to do all my transactions and all. Now, whatever I do, I can do everything in a click of app. If I go to the bank, I never go to the bank and all. Now, everything I do in my mobile, I just open my app and I just at the click of a button, I do that. So in a nutshell, each and every app, not only there is a single app which has changed my life, but everything, whatever there is app, like most of the apps, it has really changed the way I have been living in my life. So I don't have any specific app to say, but there are many apps, not only from the financial point of view, but also from the networking or the personal life point of view. There are many apps which I believe it has helped not only me, but the society as a whole. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Vinay, for sharing all the various apps that you've worked with. Back to you, Susan.
Thank you so very much for those thought-provoking questions. Next, we are going to be moving into the portion of our meeting that is so special. It's called the feedback and evaluation section, and that is going to be led by our general evaluator. Now, she will take over the role as MC, but she will also have the team of experts, the evaluator, the person who will be giving feedback, as well as what we call the tag team, the person who is going to be reporting on the timer, the person who is going to be reporting on the grammarian that you met, and one other role player, the counter. It is something in Toastmasters that is so unique that it makes us very aware that someone is using filler words, or we call crutch words. The key is that they are words that are not necessary to be spoken. You wouldn't start a sentence with and or so or well if you're writing it. So try to limit your spoken words to that which you would use if you were writing. And when we get hesitant, we use the filler words, I'm hesitating, I'm waiting. But I have a secret for you. You as Toastmasters will never forget this rule. You will be counting everyone's ahs and ums from now on. I'm sorry, we can't take that back. There's no refund for that. But you can overcome your own filler words by listening intently to others and getting the feedback when you have those filler words. We're all prone to it, but let's not make it the habit, the first thing that we go to. My very first meeting, someone gave me the secret. Do you know how you get rid of filler words? I said, what? And they said, breathe. You all need to breathe before you say a sentence. And if you do that silently, you may say your sentence without that hesitation of an ah or an Little secrets, heard about it almost 30 years ago, and I still use that insight today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn control of this meeting over to our general evaluator. Guest, thank you for stepping up, Doreen. Please help me welcome Doreen Galley.
Thank you, Susan, for that very detailed introduction. So big expectations. Hopefully I can do this well. So the first thing we're going to need is, I know Stephen has been patiently waiting for his evaluation from his presentation. And so our speaker evaluator today is Pramod, is that correct?
Correct.
Pramod, without further ado.
Yeah. Madam Toastmaster of the Day, General Evaluator, Fellow and Future Toastmasters. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I expected a convoluted speech because Stephen is a surgeon, but surprisingly, the speech was so simple and it was flowing like a sweet, calm river. Let me first express my sincere appreciation for Stephen for connecting with the audience in a very strong manner. See, the purpose statement of the speech says that speaker has to motivate the audience. So how do you motivate the audience? We are all getting WhatsApp messages every day, tons of WhatsApp messages about motivation and all. But what is the difference between those messages and Stephen's speech? Stephen's speech is built on personal experience. So when you say something about your personal experience and you tell your audience, see, I am getting this benefit. I am enjoying what I am giving to the society. The pleasure is, you cannot understand the pleasure. When somebody is saying that, you have no other way but to believe in that. So I was enthralled by the speech. I was listening. Even I'm sure that most of the audience, most of the people listening to the speech would have thought something about volunteering in their life. If you have not done volunteering so far, hitherto, if you have not done that, I'm sure that Stephen's speech would have provoked you to do something. So that was the first thing. So it built all the credibility, connected with the audience, and he delivered all his content with excellent commanding power on languages. And what I really liked was the calm and composure with which he delivered the speech. Normally in prepared speeches, what we see is that sometimes you become nervous, you become excited. It was a calm speech. I said it, it was flowing like a sweet river. Everybody could enjoy it. So that is something which I really loved it. And also the structure of the speech is very important. Toastmasters, when you have a mentor, your mentor would be telling you to be careful about the structure of the speech, how to start the speech, and with personal stories, connection. And here you can see that he connected volunteerism, personal stories, and also with Toastmasters, and all in single line. And the transitions were so seamless that it all looked like the same, like a chain, beautiful gold chain. It was so built I really loved that portion also. And he was standing and he was giving no more extra body movements. Body language was really good. Eye contact was really good. And he chose beautiful words. I'm sure that the language evaluator, the grammarian, would be commenting on that. The one small suggestion is that he would have used the word of the day. Normally, in a speech, the speaker tries to use the word of the day incorporating his speech. That could have been done. So except that I have no other recommendations. I really enjoyed the speech. We normally evaluator doesn't enjoy the speech because he would be looking at the nuances of the speech and the details. So he forgot to enjoy. But today it was different because I enjoyed the speech and I noticed everything without even writing on my. So that says all about Stephen's speech. Over to you, Doreen.
Thank you very much for that. Hopefully we won't get convoluted with all this feedback, and Stephen will, so the rest of your feedback, Stephen, will be along with the grammarian and the timer. So the first aspect of everyone's feedback will be on the timer, the grammar for Stephen's speech, and then the rest will be on the table topics. So the first one, now that you've finished all your timing for the day, Shukrath, is that right? Pronunciation? Shukrath?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. If you could give your timer report.
So let me give you my timer report. The timing for the prepared speeches spoken by Stephen View is 8 minutes. And coming to the table topics, the first table topic speaker, Doreen Gully, it's 1 minute 28 seconds. And second, Melland is 1 minute 56 seconds. And third speaker, Mary Shiking, it's 1 minute 45 seconds. And the fourth speaker of the table topics, that is Rajat Gupta, he spoke 1 minute 20 seconds. And Pragati, she spoke 53 seconds. And Ritu Ghosh spoke 1 minute 23 seconds. And the last table topic speaker spoke for 2 minutes 36 seconds. And coming to the evaluator, Pramod spoke for 3 minutes 2 seconds. 26 seconds, I'm sorry. 3 minutes 26 seconds.
Excellent. Very good report. Great job. Remember, the important thing is to pay attention to the time so that we're efficiently moving the meeting. And this is also helpful to maintain conversations and the flow of conversations if you were at a cocktail party, for example. So it's very good to build in that minute-and-a-half timer for the table topics. So without further ado, Raghu, are you ready for the grammarian report?
Yes, Doreen, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a wonderful speech from Stephen Bui. Thank you so much, Stephen, for sharing your personal experience and motivating all of us in, making sure that we all should volunteer without expecting anything, and later we will get back what we give. Thank you so much for your speech. Yeah, I'll start with the people who use the word of the day. Susan, you started with my word of the day, followed by Stephen and Pramod. And there were some beautiful words that people have used. I would like to call out some of them here. Stephen, I really liked your speech. I wanted to tell you one more time. And the words that you have used, some of them are glimmer of hope, contentment, boosting of mood. There were so many other wonderful words that you have used, but these three really touched me. So thank you so much for that. Susan, your speech is really, really exceptional. I would like to call out few words that you have called out. Succinctly, I have heard that word for the first time, to be honest. And concisely, though I have heard it before, I really liked the way that you have used it today. And instead of saying ah, ooh, and all the hutch words, I heard the hutch words for the first time again. So thank you so much for bringing all that here. Milind, your personal experience taking care of the dog is really good. The contentment, the word that you have used is what I just wanted to call out. Mary, one word that I really liked and touched is, in order to improve the focus, we need to stop and take a deep breath. Sometimes we wanted to, we will just run into the things without stopping and taking any breath. So yeah, this is a really a good point, that we need to stop a little bit, take a deep breath, and then focus on things which will improve our focus. Thank you so much for bringing that word. And Pramod, your feedback was really great, and I really like the word enthralled. Thank you so much for bringing that word, Pramod. And the way that you have given your feedback is really great. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's all I have in this today's grammarian report. Over to you, Toastmaster Susan.
I think we're still in the evaluation, but thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. No problem. We're good. We're good. We're going to go over to our counter. Yakumar, is that correct pronunciation?
Jai Kumar. Yes.
Yakumar, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So as already Toastmaster Susan explained, the role of a counter is to note down the usage of or such kind of poses, short and long poses, and filler words, and some repetitions also. So coming to my report for today's meeting, Dr. Stephen Bui had only 2 to 3 pauses and one couple of and there was only one which I felt like which was used as a filler word. Toastmaster Ekta had 3-4 ahs, one and only couple of repetitions. Guest Doreen, only I could find one repetition of word or something. Milind, that in D-Mary, there was nothing I could find crutch word, filler word, or Rajat had 2 2 so, and one repetition. Pragati had many and filler word and because Ritu had 1 1 so, and one pause. Vinay had 1 but, 1 and 1 so. Pramod had 2 and 1 so, and grammarian Raghu had 2 3 and 1 as a filler word. So last but not least, like from Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster Susan, I couldn't find. My mind felt convoluted. Only the instances which I could find was when she was giving the example of role of counter and giving the example of interview. Rather than that, I could not. Overall, in today's meeting, I feel like it was a very good meeting without many crutch word, filler words, or asks. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster guest Doreen, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. Excellent, excellent. And I just want to confirm with Susan, I did get all of our individual evaluators assigned for the meeting. Is that correct?
You did. Thank you.
Excellent. Very good. I have it on gallery view, so that was very helpful. In terms of evaluation for the general meeting, we started at 5 after, which I think was more efficient than last week. Is that correct? So great job. It would be helpful if on the website, maybe it said for guests to show up early and a reminder, but it's very good job. And remember, anyone who's joining or wants to be a role to show up early, and that helps start the meetings on time. So that was very efficient. I really enjoyed, Susan, how you introduced the roles and you were very verbose on it, which was fantastic because a lot of people are unfamiliar with the roles. I find even if you've been doing it for a while, it's always good to get a in-depth reminder so it's redundant, so you hear it from the Toastmaster of the day as well as the person doing the role and say, okay, now I'm going to evaluate the meeting and let everyone know how it went. So I thought that was very good. We did get the roles filled right in the beginning, so that was great. We did a great job introducing everyone. one feedback, and that was a very bad place to put one. So I just got myself. The timer did a great job. It did help when they were spotlighted. So we might want to make sure we always spotlighted, because I had observed that Stephen had an issue when he was doing his presentation, and it hurt him because he couldn't see the time, and I felt the same. And so that would be something. I'm not familiar with Zoom tech, obviously, apologize, but that would be a good thing to find out how to maximize the tech. One additional thing that I have seen done that's quite helpful in order to be inclusive. Now, I happen to be able to see colors, but I think everyone might have noticed the green was a little blue shade, or it might depend on your computer or something, what color it was, but there are people who can't see colors. And so it's helpful to be inclusive, to also put in the chat, green, yellow, red. And so that when someone can see it, and they can also just see it going by in the chat and go, okay, that's the next level, which I was counting things that flashed because I couldn't see the colors very well. But that might be just one thing to help. But great job, by the way, on timing and keeping track and keeping track of everyone. Sometimes the report is also posted into the chat. I have seen grammarian reports posted the chat and such. I had never seen the accountant and grammarian separated before, so that was very interesting. I had never seen before where someone complimented on specific vocabulary and word choices. And I really enjoyed that. I once had the privilege when I was a Gartner analyst of working with Joe McGuire. His brother wrote Wicked, and we used to have conversations like that. And I haven't heard someone do that since then, in terms of really appreciating how you wrote that phrase. So thank you for that. That was wonderful on many levels. And I think everyone appreciated it too, and said, you know, I remembered that as well. Because it's always wonderful when wonderful words make it into our reviews, and we don't get too convoluted in our heads, and remember to use the word of the day when we can. One missed opportunity was sometimes after someone gives a speech, it's nice to have a minute where everyone can give feedback and give a little time for the person evaluating them to start to get a head start, so that everyone can give feedback. I did send Stephen a note, but I don't think a lot of people did. And my guess is there were a lot of people that had wonderful thoughts, even positive thoughts in terms of all the things he did great on it, because it was a very clean speech. So that was a missed opportunity. Trying to review my notes to see if there was anything else I caught, and also looking at the checklist. Oh, one other missed opportunity is we had a guest that was open to do a volunteer. And in theory, you could always have something like the listener role, right? Where you just listen and ask a question on the content, and then everyone comes off mic and you try to join in and see if you heard. That might have been a good opportunity to get additional involvement, since someone had volunteered, and theoretically, that's one that a non-member can fill. Just as a possible suggestion. But overall, I would say it was a really great meeting, Susan, and you did a wonderful job. And I believe we finished on time as well.
Thank you, Doreen. Thank you so very much. We are now going to return control directly to our presiding officer, if he is on board. Raghu? Raghunath, he is not. So then I am going to assume that role as well as Toastmaster of the Day. I want to thank everybody for being here and participating in the way they did. And I'm actually going to close the recording and then ask the guests for feedback. We can. Thank you. Just a moment.